I never thought the worst humiliation of my life would happen 30,000 feet in the air, but that's exactly where it hit me. One moment I was just a kid trying to keep my head down, the next I was standing in an airplane aisle with everyone staring, being told I didn't belong there. And the thing that still messes with me, I had followed every rule. I'd done everything right. It started early that morning at Harbor City International Airport, the kind of place that smells like burnt coffee and stress no matter how fancy the signs look. I was 17, traveling alone for the first time, wearing my usual uniform. Faded hoodie jeans, sneakers that had seen better days. Nothing flashy, nothing that said money. Inside my backpack was my sketchbook, my headphones, and a boarding pass that honestly felt heavier than it should have. Seat 1A. First class. My dad had booked it as a surprise. He couldn't fly with me because of work, some last-minute meetings overseas, but he didn't want me waiting around alone. Just enjoy it, he'd said the night before, smiling through a glitchy video call. Eat the fancy snacks, draw something cool. You'll be fine. I believed him. Mostly. At check-in, the agent stared at my screen longer than necessary. Then she looked at me. Then back at the screen. Her smile faded into something tight and professional, the kind that doesn't reach the eyes. She asked if I was traveling alone, asked where my parents were, asked again if the ticket was really mine. I answered calmly, even though my stomach was doing flips. Finally, the computer beeped green like it was tired of arguing on my behalf. She handed everything back without apologizing. I told myself not to let it get to me. I was used to that look. Boarding felt like stepping into another world. First class was quiet, warm, polished. Soft lighting, big seats, people who looked like they belonged there, like they'd done this 100 times. A flight attendant scanned my boarding pass and paused. She tilted her head slightly. "Are you sure this is your seat?" she asked, half smiling like it was a joke. I nodded and showed her the screen again. Seat 1A. She laughed softly, stepped aside and waved me through. That laugh followed me all the way to my seat. I settled in, trying to relax, telling myself I deserved to be there. I pulled out my sketchbook and started drawing the curve of the window, the way the light hit the edge of the wing. For a moment, I forgot where I was. Then the noise started. She came in, loud, confident, already annoyed. You know the type. Designer coat, even though it was warm, sunglasses still on indoors, rolling a suitcase that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. Her voice carried through the cabin as she complained about legroom, about tradition, about how she and her husband always sat in the front. I didn't look up at first. I hoped I could just disappear. That didn't last long. "Excuse me," she said sharply, stopping right next to my seat. I looked up. She didn't look at me, not really. She looked past me like I was part of the furniture. "You're in my seat." I checked my phone again, even though I already knew. "I don't think so," I said quietly. "This is 1A." She scoffed, turned to the flight attendant, and said it louder this time. "Why is a child sitting in first class?" Then she glanced at my hoodie like it personally offended her, and dressed like that. The flight attendant's tone changed instantly. She asked for my boarding pass again. This time she didn't smile. She took my phone from my hand without asking and scrolled through it, frowning. The ticket was valid. Paid in full. No mistake. That should have been the end of it. But instead, she sighed and said there must have been a double booking. A double booking. Funny how that only applied to me. She explained that because the other woman was a priority member, I'd need to move to economy. Row 33. Near the bathrooms. She said it like she was doing me a favor. I said no. My voice shook, but I said it. I have a ticket. I'm staying. The cabin went silent. The woman's face twisted in disbelief. The flight attendant leaned closer and lowered her voice, telling me I was causing a disturbance, that she could call security, that I might not fly at all if I didn't cooperate. People looked away. One man across the aisle started to say something, then stopped. I felt every pair of eyes on me, measuring me, judging me. I thought about my dad waiting for me. I thought about being stranded. I thought about how tired I was of always having to prove I belonged. And then I stood up. I walked down that aisle while the woman slid into my seat like she'd won something. Someone told the attendant to wipe down the armrests. That part burned. I don't think I'll ever forget that. Row 33 was cramped and loud and smelled like old coffee. I sat down, hugged my backpack, and tried not to cry. I texted my dad before the signal cut out. Just 3 words. They moved me. I didn't know if it would send. I didn't know he was already close. The plane started to move. Then it stopped. Hard. An announcement crackled over the speakers about a security issue. The woman in my old seat rolled her eyes and said something about that girl causing trouble. I stared at the seat in front of me, my heart pounding. Then the door opened. I didn't see him at first. I heard the shift, the silence. When my dad finally reached my row, he didn't look angry. He looked focused. He knelt in the aisle like it was the most natural thing in the world, pulled one side of my headphones off, and said my name. That was it. I lost it. Everything I'd been holding in spilled out at once. He listened. He didn't interrupt. When I finished, he hugged me and told me I'd done nothing wrong. Then he stood up, took my hand, and said we were going back to my seat. The walk to the front felt different this time. People watched. No one looked away. My dad spoke calmly, clearly, like someone who was done playing nice. He told the woman to get up. She laughed at first. Then he handed her his card. Her face changed. Fast. She was escorted off the plane shouting about lawsuits and status. The flight attendant was pulled aside and told she was done. Fired. No speeches, no drama. Just consequences. We eventually took off delayed but quiet. I sat back in seat 1A. My sketchbook on my lap, my dad nearby. The seat felt different now, not like a luxury, like a line I'd defended. Later, I found out the video went viral. Millions of views, debates everywhere. Some people said it was justice. Some said it was too harsh. Careers ended. Policies changed. I didn't comment, I just kept drawing. That day taught me something I didn't learn in school. People will decide who you are in seconds based on nothing but how you look. Standing your ground won't always be easy. Your voice might shake. You might feel alone. But it matters. So here's my question to you. What would you have done? Would you have moved or would you have stayed? Was it justice or was it too much? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share your own story if you've lived something like this. And if this hit you, stick around. Because these moments, they're not rare. They're just rarely told.